passion runs so deep, man. So much history, pageantry.
1 week closer to kickoff.
That's the way we answer.
It starts with culture.
It's a mentality. It's a way of life. It's a DNA.
College football free agency. Transfer portal.
The Cinderella story is over, man. Right? They're fighting for clicks. We're fighting for wins.
Say that. Say that again. Coaches only. Players only. Everybody. It's time.
College football is different. They're
of the 12-team playoff.
Boy, fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Welcome back for a new college football episode of Bet the Line, brought to you by Robbins Properties. If you're looking for a house, townhome, or apartment to rent or own in the Central Iowa area, they are the people that will take care of you. That is Robbins Properties. Fellas, week one is done. It was a great week one. Let's get right into it. Texas falls to Ohio State 14-7. What are your thoughts?
There's a dynasty of brewing, and it is Columbus, Ohio. I mean, when are we going to start talking about Ryan Day as being one of the better, if not the best, college football coach? I mean, you can't look too far into week one, but it was a defensive matchup. We have a new OC and DC, and he's still able to return his main guys, especially on the defensive side, but then he's also to replace them and have a freshman QB. There was no shots down the field. Either team could say that. It wasn't a very exciting game. Defenses typically are quicker to overcome adversity early in the season. They're able to kind of predict what the offenses are going to do. Offenses will catch up later in the year, and we're going to see way more explosive offenses later on. I mean, it's a good game. Texas could have won it. Ohio State could have won it. Play goes here or there. I don't want to get too high on this, but, I mean, we did win. Can't be too cocky off week one, but, hey, boys, we're here. We're not going anywhere. So, I mean, sure, we might not win the Big Ten, but we'll win the national championship, and I'm okay with that. So, number one now, brothers.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me Jeremiah Smith would have 43 receiving yards, I would say Ohio State's losing that game, and somehow they found a way to still win.
I mean, they did in the playoffs shut Jeremiah Smith down, and Ohio State still found a way to win. So, I mean, that's just, at this point, just better coaching if we're continuously doing it to you, you know, so.
Julian's saying he looked good back there. He was able to read the plays, like not trying to do too much like some freshman quarterbacks you would think would do. Yeah, I was very impressed with them.
He looked comfortable back there, and
yeah,
as a freshman quarterback.
I think overall, at least in my opinion, the game kind of went as I expected it to. You know, each team, for the most part, was pretty conservative throughout the game. It's a defensive battle. I think, Clayton, this may be weird for you to hear, but to me, it was almost like a Michigan J.J. McCarthy-esque game plan for Ohio State. It was, we can win this game. We're just asking you, like, we're not asking you to do a lot. We're not going to ask you to throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Manage the game. We can escape with the win thanks to our defense, and that's exactly what happened. And I also think on the flip side, you know, I was very high coming into the season on Texas, and I still am. I think there's a lot of overreactions out there on Arch Manning. You know, it's your first true road start of your career. You got all the expectations. You got the last name. I mean, if you listen to the broadcast, every time they were on offense, you always heard that he's Eli and Peyton's nephew. He's Archie's son. Or Cooper's son. He's Archie's grandson. You know, it's nonstop. But I think at the end of the day, he just ran into, you know, if not the best, a top 5 defense in the country in your first true road start. So
Peyton Manning's first game was like against East Carolina. Eli Manning's was against Murray State. And then you're like, well, Arch Manning played against possibly the best defense in the nation currently in defending champs at their place, you know? So, I mean, I think this is a game 10 weeks from now, we're going to look back and be like, wow, he's come a long way. Because he's going to, these next 2-3 weeks, depending on Texas' schedule, he's going to get his, and he's going to have some big games against some crap teams. But I mean, we're going to look at this game and be like, yeah, I mean, understandably, he
it's-
played like that against Ohio State, you know.
It's week 1. You went up against the number 1 team now. I mean, he's human. He had a bad day. Every quarterback has had a bad day once in their career.
I mean that QB sneak, it was a QB stall. Like he got the ball and then basically just knelt down. Like he didn't even move an inch. Like that was terrible. I'm not saying it's his fault. Most like 85% is the offensive lineman's fault for not moving, but I don't know. I was expecting a little more out of Arch in that week 1, and I know a lot of people online absolutely hate Arch Manning now and are calling him not a good quarterback. I don't think that's the case. I think he still has the potential to be a Heisman finalist, but this was my live reaction when they announced that Matt Patricia was the Ohio State's defensive coordinator, because I had no clue. This was my live reaction when I was like, I was rubbing my face for probably 10 minutes because he won 3 Super Bowls with Bill Belichick. I don't think anybody is going to put up more than 20 points against Ohio State this year. I mean, I think Ohio State is going to have the best defense in the nation this year. I had no clue Matt Patricia was their defensive coordinator. I mean, he won 3 Super Bowls with Bill Belichick. That's insane that they got him. Had no clue it was Matt Patricia. So I think Ohio State's defense will be the best in the country. No surprise that Arch performed that way, but I think Arch will be fine. I think Texas will be fine.
Yeah. Arch Manning was off target 37% of his passes, which is the worst by a Texas quarterback in the past 10 seasons. So, I mean, take that how you want. I do think he'll be fine. He had a bad day. Like you said earlier, Jake, it's the first game. So, let's move on. Upset in Tallahassee as Florida State defeats Alabama 31-17.
This to me was probably the biggest shocker of the weekend. I mean, if you go back to last week, right? Like I picked Texas to win, I picked Clemson to win, picked Notre Dame to win. I was wrong on all of them. This is definitely the one that like is truly shocking to me. All those other results doesn't surprise me. I was wrong, but I could see it happening. I did not see a scenario where Florida State would win the game. But not only did they win the game, like they dominated the game. They dominated the trenches. I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen it all over social media, but there was just a total lack of effort by the Alabama players. There was a play, I think it was a run play, some type of sweep, where I believe it was a tight end is going around the corner on a play and just absolutely sticks an Alabama linebacker. And it's like, when was the last time you saw an Alabama linebacker get pancaked?
Sorry.
This is not the Alabama football we know. Also, right hand up, gotta say it. I sent it in the chat, but Tommy Castellanos, I owe you an apology. I really wasn't familiar with your game. But no, I truly, like, Florida State just absolutely shocked me. They were the more physical team. They game planned well. I mean, they ran the ball down Alabama all game. Credit to Gus Malzahn for a great game plan.
Florida State had 230 yards rushing, and Alabama only had 87 total for the whole game. That's the difference right there.
And I also think that with this game, I mean, we talked about it on the preview episode for the ACC. We talked about it last week, at least I did. Florida State football, man, it was a dark last 21 months for the program. I don't think anybody would deny that. And man, what a way to respond, and they just shot a ton of life back into the program. Like, you got to be feeling good as a Florida State fan.
Same with Mike Norvell, though. I mean, 2-10 season last year, speculation that you're on the hot seat, and week 1 you completely flip the script. Like, that was a must-win game for him, and
that place was electric, though. I mean,
Q,
that was awesome to see.
Yeah, Q. Before you put your insight on this game, I just want to pick up that Alabama was 2 for 5 on 4th downs, and Florida State was 2 for 2. So it's a big difference there.
I absolutely love that I absolutely love what Florida State did. I don't think they're deserving of a top 15 ranking, though, just because of this win. I don't know if I mentioned it in previous episodes, but I do know that I mentioned it to you guys that I am not high on Alabama this year. I don't think that they're going to be that good. And I had mentioned that it's going to be because of their quarterback being a question mark. And he was a question mark. I mean, Ty Simpson was not the entire problem in that game, but he was sure a part of it. Their defense being the other part. But I am just not sold on Bama this year. I don't think they're going to be the Bama standard and them losing one game. I think they're a 3 to 4 loss team this year. I mean, they lost to Florida State. You look at their remaining schedule. They have 3 more, I think 4 more top 25 teams to play. I don't see Bama being that good this year, and I don't think Florida State is deserving of a top 15 ranking. I mean, they're 14th right now, but this was the win that Florida State needed to turn their program around in terms of being held down by being left out of the playoff 2 years ago. I mean, this was it. Like, yes, Bama was ranked preseason ranked 8th. Like, yes, we have our feelings about preseason rankings. This was the win that Florida State needed, and with a sold out Florida State crowd, this was. I mean, they rushed the field. The first rushed field is in week 1. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. I love what Tommy did. Didn't do that much in the passing game. Only completed 9 passes. Still love what he did. He won them the game. I love what Florida State did. I don't think they're deserving of a top 15 ranking, though, because I don't think Bama is going to be all that good this year.
You said Ty Simpson played bad. I don't think he played extremely bad. I think the only thing he lacked was like pre-snap reads and then slow reactions that led to like stalled drives and sacks. Like other than that, I don't think he played.
Yeah,
that bad.
like he wasn't the only problem. Like he didn't play bad. He didn't play great, and not playing great didn't end up losing them the game, but it kind of contributed to it because their defense wasn't helping them. So it was kind of like the entire team played bad on both sides. But I mean, I think if a more experienced Alabama quarterback was in that position, then that they would have probably won the game.
Do you think there's a chance we see the 5-star quarterback play at all this season for Alabama?
I don't know, because I hate to take away what Ty Simpson as an athlete is. I think as an athlete, he can start every single game this year. I mean, he's a stud, don't get me wrong. And playing at Florida State isn't easy, no matter what their record is, and no matter how many fans are at that stadium. But I think I don't think you could go wrong with either quarterback, really. But I don't want to take away from what Ty Simpson is as an athlete, because I think as an athlete, he can start every single game and can be good for Alabama every single game. So I don't know. It's really up to DeBoer and what he wants to do and how he responds after going 0-1 with the schedule he has left ahead of him.
Jake, you're a big DeBoer guy. Would you say like the hot seat it's hot right now for him?
I would say it's hot. I don't think it should be, but it is. And I think part of that is he took over for the greatest college football coach of all time.
Yeah.
There's an expectation for Alabama football that I think if you're able to look at the situation from afar, you're able to say, like, who is ever possibly going to fill Nick Saban's shoes? Nobody. And that's the reality of the situation. Like, 6 national championships in 12 years will never be replicated again. We may see 2 and 3. We may see back-to-back, like what Georgia and Clemson have done. But over that period of time, Nick Saban's the only one that's ever done it, apart from maybe Bear Bryant, who was also an Alabama head coach. I do like DeBoer. I do think that there's some soul searching going on inside the program right now, for sure. Um, and we'll get in. I do like him moving forward. I'm not out on him. I think you got to give credit to Florida State. They looked like a completely new team. You know, like I said, both sides of the ball, the trenches, they dominated the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's both possible to give Florida State credit and also say at the same time, like, Alabama's not dead.
Yeah. Let's get into another upset here. Clemson gets shut out in the second half to fall to LSU at home 17-10.
I mean, I had Clemson going undefeated, and it starts with week 1. So
Yeah, same.
they're already 0-1. I'm not out on Clemson. I do have LSU winning the SEC in one of my futures. I do think LSU is really that good. I mean, people are already calling LSU to win the Natty after week 1, which I know you can't really take much out of week 1, but if you're going to take anything out of week 1, it's a top 10 matchup like LSU Clemson. It would be a top 10 matchup like Ohio State Texas. So LSU winning the Natty isn't really crazy in my eyes. So the height that LSU is getting, a 7-point loss. I mean, I know it was at home, but a 7-point loss against LSU really isn't that crazy to me. I would have liked to see more out of Cade Klubnik. I mean, he really did not play that good. Heisman hopes, Heisman front runner. I really would have liked to see more out of him. That was very, very disappointing to me. But I have Clemson over 10.5 wins in one of my futures, so they have to win out if I want to make that. But I don't know. I think it was a very defensive game, which, I mean, LSU's defense was not there when they had Jane Daniels. And if it was, they probably would have won the Natty. I mean, they were putting up 52 points a week with Jane Daniels. They were giving up 59. So the fact that LSU's defense is back is really exciting to college football. I truly think they're a top 5 team and deserving of that, and will remain a top 5 team from here until week 14, until the regular season gets over. I just am really, really disappointed with Clemson. The fact that it was a night game, the fact that it was at home, you know, you're fighting for Death Valley claiming rights, you know. Cade Klubnik did not impress me with how star-studded their offense is. I would have liked to see more.
But if I had to pick a team that needed this win, like more, it would have been LSU. Just for like locker room wise, coaching wise, getting over that hump of the opener losing streak, like, and to prove it to the committee, because a lot of people doubted them. So I think Clemson will be fine. They'll probably be in the ACC championship. Obviously, week 1 we saw there's a lot more contenders than what we thought, but yeah, I think they'll be fine. And I think the team that needed this win more was LSU, and they got that win.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, credit to LSU for sure. You know, when we did the preview last week, I touched on it, but under Brian Kelly, they were 0-3 in week 1 openers. Finally got over the hurdle, and not only did they get over the hurdle, but their defense was incredible. Their defensive line specifically had Cade Klubnik under duress all game. Q, to your point, I mean, even if you go back to the 2019 LSU team that won the national championship, their defense was like 45th in the country. Like, their offense was just so incredible. So, like, I couldn't even tell you the last time that LSU had a defense this good. And, you know, that was a big question mark coming into the year. Under Brian Kelly, their defense hasn't been great. So, yeah, first and foremost, credit to the defense for sure. For those that actually, you know, were able to watch the game too, the final score was 17-10, but it sure did feel like LSU won by 3 scores. You know, it didn't really match what the final score was, but yeah, LSU was incredible. I think the only reason it was as close as it was Clemson's defense kind of bailed them out. There were 2 red zone turnovers by the Tigers, the LSU Tigers, that is. So they kind of did what they could to keep them in the game, but ultimately LSU for sure was the better team.
Yeah, and credit to LSU. That offense is going to be tough to start. They have a everybody eats mentality. I mean, 9 different players had receptions in that game for them, so that's going to be a tough team to defeat. And they have Florida coming up, so that'll be a great game to watch.
I think on the Clemson side too, the only thing I'd really add was the post Trevor Lawrence era. It's kind of starting to become a recurring theme that their offense doesn't do anything in big games. You look at Georgia last year, 30-3. You look at LSU this year, 17-10. You look at, go back Georgia a few years ago when it was like 10-3 in week 1. Like their offense is just not showing up in big games. I don't know if it's Lincoln Riley. I think it's his younger brother is the offensive coordinator. Came from TCU a couple years ago, but I don't know if that's the issue. I don't know if it's the players. Like, hey, they just don't have the dudes they used to have. I don't know what the issue is, but like anytime Clemson has a big game, it just seems like their offense is not there.
We'll go into the next game here. We have Notre Dame at Miami Sunday night. Man, was this a game? Miami defeats Notre Dame 27-24. Q, you had a Heisman future on Carson Beck. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I don't know if he will win Heisman, but I did say that he would be a Heisman finalist. And he kind of proved more to that point against Notre Dame. But I want to touch on Miami's defense, because if Miami had the defense that they had this year with Cam Ward, they probably would have made it pretty far in the playoffs. I mean, Miami's defensive line was insane. Everybody online was ripping Notre Dame's offensive line apart. Notre Dame has a top 5 offensive line, most likely. Miami just probably has a top 3 defensive line. It's just Miami is that much better in the defensive line aspect, and their defense surprised me the most. Like, Carson Beck performed how I kind of figured that he would. I knew he would grow more. I knew he would mature more in Miami's offense. I don't think Georgia was the right fit for him. I think Georgia was kind of too mature of a team than Carson Beck was as a player. But I was so impressed with Miami's defense that my first thought was, oh my gosh, if this defense was last year with Cam Ward's offense, I mean, you're looking at a natty contender team right there. But I was very, very impressed with Miami's defense. I was very, very impressed with Carson Beck. I mean, that one-handed snag by who was that? Who was that receiver? One-handed snag in the end zone.
Oh,
I mean,
that should have been picked.
Oh yeah. I mean, it should have been picked, but if you look at it, Carson Beck was getting sacked, rolling back, getting tackled backwards, and still put it exactly where he could have put it. I mean, credit to the catch, yes, but like, that was a hell of a throw, even though it was kind of outside the grasp. But I mean, Carson Beck did phenomenal. I do still think he will be a Heisman finalist, but I mean, credit to Miami. Not sure why Notre Dame only ran it with Jeremiah Love 10 times or however many, 10, 11 times.
Yeah, 10 carries, 3 yards.
I mean, that's the best player on the team. You got to get him at least 20 carries a game. But, I mean, credit to Miami. They earned that.
Yeah, half those carries came halfway through the third quarter too. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's the difference maker there. I have, and Jake, if you want to talk about it, you can, but I have no clue what their game plan was going into that game. If that's what it was, is just having Jeremiah Love out there as a decoy, like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, giving arguably the best running back in college football 10 touches is coaching malpractice. Quick side note, it was pretty funny to see Jeremiah Love just try and hurdle everybody the entire game. But yeah, him getting 10 carries is an issue for sure. It almost seemed like their game plan to me was treat CJ Carr as if he's Riley Leonard 2.0, but so much better. And which is, I don't know. I mean, that's fine, but I was impressed with CJ Carr. You know, the composure for him to be able to drive down the field and tie the game up with less than 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I think they have a great quarterback moving forward. I don't think that means you have to stop game planning your star running back. But yeah, like Q said, I mean, Miami's defensive ends were just insane the entire game. Only thing I'll add, just as a college football fan of the sport, was pretty cool to see Carson Beck in his post game interview get choked up and just say, like, Miami taught me how to love football again. You know, in a bad spot, maybe at Georgia, you know, might not sound like a bad spot, but maybe wasn't the best fit for him. And see him go somewhere else, and it's obviously early in the season, but seemed to be a good match so far. It's just fun to see.
Yeah, and he talked about it in that interview. Like, he thought he got blamed for a lot of things that wasn't necessarily his fault. And yeah, I think he just needed a fresh new start, and that's what he has. I think it'd be crazy for us not to talk about the true freshman, Malachi Tony, wide receiver. He had 6 receptions for 82 yards. So first game against Notre Dame, true freshman. He's going to be a baller for them this year. We can go into anything else if you have anything else on that game, or no. All right. Other notable games for week 1 would be South Carolina defeating Virginia Tech. Auburn -2.5 goes into the game against Baylor and beats them 38-24. Michigan has a quarterback answer this year. They defeated New Mexico 34-17. Boise State fell to South Florida. Florida drops a shutout against Long Island. DJ Lagway looked healthy. Big time game here. Kansas State survived a scare at home, defeating North Dakota in a very late comeback, 38-35. Ole Miss blew out Georgia State 63-7. Tennessee looks fine with Joey Aguilar under center as they beat Syracuse 45-26. And a revamped Oklahoma team that we have talked a lot about on this podcast looked amazing.
Yeah, I want to apologize to my lock, which was Kansas State -25.5. I didn't realize they were that bad. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I mean, Iowa State's a good team. They were right in there with them, but Jesus Christ. I apologize.
I think we've seen the aftermath of the losing team in Dublin and how it pans out for them.
Yep.
Didn't they say a stat like during the Ireland game, like whoever loses that team on average goes like 500 on the year?
Well, I mean, Florida State went 2-10 last year, so that's just my basis of how Dublin games go.
All right, fellas, moving on. Players that shined this week. I'm going to start us out. I got Devin Dampier in Utah. Along with, I threw down their entire offensive line. This is a team that I loved very heavily coming into the year. I don't know that everybody stayed up and watched the game, but Utah beat UCLA 43-10. They took care of business. It's what you do to an inferior opponent. Not only that, the team rushed for just under 300 yards behind that beefy offensive line. I'm a nerd, so truthfully, like, some of the holes that they were opening up was actually just insane. And then the Devin Dampier side of things, you know, super efficient. It was 21 for 25, 206 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 87 yards rushing and a touchdown. So maybe not the best opponent week 1, but it does seem like a perfect match thus far.
I went with Lenore's Sellers, dual threat playmaker. He looked unbelievable. He completed 12 of 19 passes for 209 yards on the game. He had 62 yards of rushing, and then threw an absolute dot, 65-yard strike to Nick Harbor late in the game that kind of sealed the deal for them. So I love what I saw out of them. I do think the defense needs a little bit of answers. They went kind of ghost mode randomly throughout the game. So, but yeah, the offense is there. So yeah, I'm very high on South Carolina after what I saw.
I went with Joey Aguilar out of Tennessee. Spread opened up at 13.5 against Syracuse. I didn't personally bet on it, but I would have leaned towards Syracuse covering that. Had no clue Joey Aguilar had that in him. He threw for about 250 yards with 3 touchdowns. Only missed 12 passes. I mean, you could argue that Tennessee won the trade between Tennessee and UCLA because, for those of you who don't know, Tennessee's starting quarterback went to Tennessee's quarterback Nico went to UCLA, and then UCLA's starting quarterback Joey Aguilar went to Tennessee. Joey Aguilar outperformed Nico, so you could argue that Tennessee won that trade, which is kind of crazy to say the word trade in college football, but they basically did trade in terms of NIL. So, but I was thoroughly impressed with Joey Aguilar, and that 70-yard bomb was an absolute dot. I mean, right in the breadbasket, on the run, in stride. I was very, very impressed with Joey Aguilar. I think Tennessee is going to have a better season than what people will expect in the SEC.
Yeah, they looked fine. I think it was a quarterback question coming into the year, and they definitely answered that. Speaking of Nico, Jake, I know you watched it. I watched it as well, but UCLA looked miserable.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like week 1 of preseason camp. It was bad.
They absolutely did. But instead of saying how bad they are, I think I'm just gonna go back to the fact that, like, I'm telling you right now, this Utah team is, as an Iowa State fan, it hurts me to say it, but I don't think there's one team in the Big 12 that can compete with Utah. Like, that's how high I am on them. I think they are that good. They did what good teams do. You put an inferior opponent in the dirt, and you do not let off the gas, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
Move on to teams that shine. I know some of us have multiple teams. I'll let Jake start on that.
Yeah, so I kind of already touched on Utah. I don't think there's anything more for me to say. The other team I had was USC. I know Lincoln Riley's another name that gets thrown around that, hey, how's the marriage with him and USC? And maybe hasn't been great the last couple of years. USC only played Missouri State, I understand that, but they put up 73 points. Running back last year was a weak spot for them, the rushing game. Did a little running back by committee and had great success. I think they had 4 different running backs that scored touchdowns. Jaden Maiava, I think that's how you pronounce it, had a great game. Again, it was Missouri State. I get it. Not really a signature win by any means, but put up 73 points in week 1. Take care of business. Get the momentum rolling for when conference play hits. So USC is my team that shined.
Michigan. I mean, they played New Mexico, a game that they should win. They did win, but the question mark coming into this year is did they get the quarterback figured out? Do they have a quarterback? Will they be able to compete? That answer is yes. They went and got the number 1 recruit in the class, Bryce Underwood, who was committed to LSU but reopened his recruitment, committed to Michigan. The dude is a baller. He has a bazooka of an arm on him. I couldn't tell you how hard he's throwing that ball, but it was coming in hard. Threw for 251 yards, 1 touchdown, his debut. And then they also went and got Alabama transfer running back Justice Haynes, who had his debut as well with Michigan. He ran for 159 yards. So the run game's still going to be there for Michigan. They have a quarterback. Clayton, I hate to tell you, but I think Michigan is bad.
Quinn, there's so many.
They've always
instances where
been,
they're
dude, 4 in a row.
Does that make them an amazing team? No. Does that make them full of heart? Sure.
I think there's a chance that he's got a big game coming up, and we'll talk about it later, but we're going to see how well he does. I think there's a real shot that they could have a possibility of making the Big Ten championship.
I mean, that's a huge factor, especially in these bigger types game, bigger program. Are you the coach that can do it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he did it last year. He did. Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Okay,
telling you,
then,
you got to
dude,
saw the
I'm
trophy
not
in
gonna
half
keep
and give the
repeating
other
this.
half to
And the
Michigan.
Eagles need
I've
to
said
give half
from day
of
one.
it to the
You know,
Buccaneers.
they
So.
deserve just as much as that as Ohio State does. No, because we didn't lose to the rival. We didn't lose to our rival. Okay, the Bucks aren't our rival. Okay, the Ohio State Michigan is the biggest rivalry in the history of sports. But we don't have to get into that. I'm going to get into my teams that shined. Touched on both, so I won't elaborate too much. But number one, Miami. We literally just touched on them. I think they are, looking at how Clemson did and looking at how Miami did against both top 10 teams. I think Miami has more of a say, or not more. I would say Miami has just as much of a say in the ACC title championship than Clemson does. I think Miami can make a case just as well as Clemson can. Miami impressed me a lot more than Clemson. I mean, obviously, but I think Miami is here to stay in the top 5 conversation. So I am very high on Miami. I'm obviously very high on Carson Beck, as I stated in last week's episode. But I'm thoroughly impressed with Miami. And my other team is Florida State. I already touched on them as well. I think Tommy Castellanos. The one thing that I love more than trash talking is trash talking and doubling down on it by backing it up. We had mentioned what Tommy Castellanos had said about Bama. Tommy said, Nick Saban's not there to save them anymore. I don't think that they can stop me. That's what Tommy Castellanos said, and they didn't stop him. So I absolutely love that. If he can talk trash for the remaining 11 games and back it up and they go 12-0, more power to him. I absolutely love what I saw out of them. I absolutely love what I saw out of Florida State. Don't think they're deserving of their ranking, but prove me wrong. That's what Tommy Castellanos did to everybody in the nation because everybody doubted him after what he said about Bama, rightfully so. What he said was pretty blasphemous, but he backed it up. So, nobody can really say anything about that.
I want to throw.
I mean, it worked.
Fellas, let me take you on a trip. Let's imagine a world where Florida State goes 12-0. They win the ACC championship with Tommy Castellanos gets injured in the game, and then the committee leave them out of the 12-team playoff because it's a different team.
Can you imagine if they put Bama in? Like Bama turns their season around.
I think
6-6 Bama. Yeah, we just think that this Bama team is better than. I mean, this is a different team without Tommy Castellanos.
I think Florida State would single-handedly somehow shut the playoffs down. Like they would riot. They would storm the college football playoff committee headquarters. They would do anything in their power to shut it down. If they went
Like a
12-0, got held out of the
January
playoffs
6th type of thing.
Like they would do something to shut that down. I mean, that's what it would be if they got held out for the second time in 3 years in the same scenario. That'd be kind of funny to see, but also not funny at the same time.
It would not happen, but I will say, in this hypothetical, if it did, like with all the stuff that's going on in the world, I feel like whenever I get on Twitter, I see something about potential World War III breaking out. That this would guarantee World War III if Florida State got snubbed.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to the new rankings that came out. So 2 episodes ago when we did the preseason rankings, I had you guys stop when you guys disagree. Let's run it the same way. Stop me as soon as you disagree with anything that you see here. So we have 1 Ohio State, 2 Penn State, 3 LSU, 4 Georgia, 5 Miami, 6 Oregon, 7 Texas, 8 Clemson, 9 Notre Dame, 10 South Carolina,
The Illinois, I don't
Illinois.
understand that yet.
12 Arizona State.
I agree. I stopped you on the preseason rankings, but this is why preseason rankings suck. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to beat a dead horse.
I mean, are they the South Carolina, the Big Ten, that they're a sleeper? South Carolina wasn't supposed to do anything last year, and then they got ranked, and now they're kind of proving themselves this year. I mean, I don't understand Illinois, but keep going.
Yeah. So Illinois was 11th. Then you moved to 12th, Arizona State. 13th, Florida. 14th, Florida State.
Stop. I had already mentioned it. They're just not deserving of the ranking for beating a mediocre Bama team. That's all I'm going to say.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. Like, they should be ranked, but I don't know if it's worth
Like
being
20,
in the top
yeah.
15.
Like 25th or
Yeah.
24th, they should be ranked.
Show us a little bit more.
Yeah.
So then we'll go to 15, Michigan. 16, Iowa State. I would rather flip them to Iowa State and Michigan. I think Iowa State has proved more on the year. 17, SMU. 18, Oklahoma. 19, Texas A&M. 20, Ole Miss. 21, Alabama. 22, Tennessee. 23, Indiana. 24, Texas Tech. And 25, Utah.
I'm going to stop you right there now that you're done. No, I think, yeah, again, not to beat a dead horse. The problem with preseason rankings and even rankings up to like week 4 is that nobody's done anything. You may think Florida State's higher than they should be. They've proven more than all but 3 teams in the country. Like, I think that's my problem with them. Like, I think it's safe to say Georgia's a top 10 team, but what did Georgia do? Beat Marshall by 45 points. So I think, yeah, that's my big problem with the rankings. But Utah specifically, people are going to learn, and they're going to learn quick. They're the greatest 25th ranked team in the country ever.
Absolutely.
This is a top 10 team.
I will say, when I watched the Utah-UCLA game, like, Utah is definitely the best Big 12 team I've watched, like, out of all the Big 12 teams so far this year, and by a large margin.
Right.
Let me ask you guys, does anybody want to change their preseason conference champion picks? Because I know I don't, because I had Utah, I had Texas A&M, still pretty confident. I had interchangeably Oregon or Penn State, still pretty confident. Nothing really shown to me in week 1. And then I had Clemson, that didn't really change after losing to arguably the best SEC team by 7. So I'm not changing any of my picks. Those are my 4 for the Power 4, but do you guys have any changes?
I'm going to sit tight on mine right now. I think week 1, especially this year, has just been full of overreactions to literally everything. I'm not out on Alabama yet. They're still tied for first in the SEC, so don't see any concerns there. Not going to change my ACC pick, but I will say this. That was the one conference where I think unanimously we all agreed, like, it's Clemson's. It's Clemson's.
Yeah.
It's whoever you want to say plays Clemson, that's fine, but Clemson's winning it. This weekend, after week 1, the ACC just got a lot more interesting.
I think I verbatim said it's a race for second in the ACC, which I don't think that's much of the case anymore.
No, I think legitimately you could make the case for Miami now. I think it may be early. Who knows what Alabama was, but you could make a case for Florida State. Like, it's all of a sudden
Duke beats Illinois this week. I mean,
right. All of a sudden, the ACC is looking really interesting.
I'm out on Alabama.
Yes, Mike.
What
I'm talking about, baby.
I think they're a good team, but I don't know if they have the answer at quarterback to keep up in the SEC play. I don't know who I would take in the SEC right now. I lean South Carolina just from what I saw, but just because they have, I like Lenore Sellers. I think he can go win a game when a game is on the line, and we kind of saw it with the dot that he threw. So, yeah, I don't know if Alabama has the quarterback, man.
I'm an investor. Stock's at its lowest. I'm buying more.
You did that to Clemson last year.
They did win the ACC.
I know they did. But, the ACC is not the SEC. If you don't have a quarterback in the SEC, you're you're SOL. I feel.
The SEC might not be the SEC anymore.
I mean, no, I think it's more of the Big Ten, non-biased opinion, but you're still. I mean, they still have the most ranked teams SEC does. So
Week 2. Maybe not the best slate compared to week 1, but nonetheless, there are some good games out there for week 2. So we start out Saturday morning, 10 a.m. We have the Illinois Fighting Illini at the Duke Blue Devils. I think for each team, this is really the first true test of the season. Illinois, Clayton, you kind of touched on it. I feel like they're like the popular Big Ten. I don't want to say sleeper pick. I think they're a solid team, but they are the popular. If you're not going to take one of the big 3 to win it, people are throwing Illinois in that mix. They're the only Power 4 team to return their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and quarterback for the 3rd straight season. Returned 16 starters from last year's team. They beat Western Illinois this past week, 52-3. On the flip side, I almost think Duke's kind of in the same boat as Illinois, maybe to a lesser degree because they're not ranked, but I think a lot of people are kind of flirting with Duke as, that second tier of a team that could be in the mix in the ACC at the end of the year. Things go right. They're coming off a 45-17 win against Elon last week. Quarterback Darian Mensah threw for 389 yards and 3 touchdowns. Current line is Illinois -3, over under 49.5. Fellas, who do we like?
I love Duke. I was high on them in our preseason predictions. I think I had them making the ACC championship. Yeah, I feel like Darian Mensah was everything advertised. I mean, they have a top defense, returning, actually upgraded from last year. They led the league in forced fumbles and fumble recovery. So they have a quarterback that is amazing. Definitely worth the $7 million or $8 million NIL deal that they gave him. But I think this game's going to come a lot down to the run game. Can you get the run game figured out? I think both teams will be able to air it out if they want. So yeah, I will. Yeah, I'm going to lean Duke. I'll take Duke to cover.
follow up on Mike. I also do love Duke. The talk of the town coming in to Duke this year was their defense and Darian Mensah. I don't really love a 19-year-old quarterback being put in that type of situation with that type of hype around him. But I mean, he was a baller at Tulane last year. He's a true sophomore, so I mean, this is a true second year, and he's matured greatly under a new offensive coordinator. I really do think that that talk of the town and Darian Mensah on their defense. I do really think that is as advertised. They were a little slow to start against Elon, but I mean that's kind of as expected with a new quarterback. You don't really have that chemistry down in game. You can practice as much as you want, but games are different no matter who you're playing. I don't care if it's Elon, but they will have their hands full with the hype surrounding Illinois. And I mean, Illinois is a solid team. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they will likely finish top 5, top 4 in the Big Ten, which is a big feat considering there's no divisions anymore in the Big Ten. So I mean, Illinois is a stud team. I do really like Duke this year, though. I mean, I love Darian Mensah. I do think the defense is as advertised. I can see it being a low-scoring game with the quarterback play being on the line. Yes, Altmaier is probably the more experienced team, but I'm still going to lean Duke to win this game.
I think it's good to pick up on, like, Illinois has a running back, Aiden Laufrey, who ran for 101 yards with 9 carries last week.
I think both teams have so much to prove, especially not just in their conference, but just overall. They want to prove that, say, Duke is the mid ACC and Illinois is the mid Big Ten. I mean, it's kind of the similarities of 2 top tier teams in each conference going at each other. You just want to prove who's better. So I just got Illinois straight up. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. But
Hugh and Mike, you guys already touched on it. I mean, everything you said about Duke, I agree with. I like Duke +3. This may be a hot take. Illinois to me this year is kind of starting to feels like Iowa State in 2021. Like 2020, you have, one of the best years your team has ever had, and then you bring back everybody, and for some reason things just don't click. I kind of see Illinois slipping up here and having a 7-5 season overall. So I like Duke +3 at home. Moving on, fellas, down to Texas. Two former Southwest Conference foes collide when Baylor travels to SMU. Baylor touched on it a little bit, but they're coming off the home loss to Auburn last week. Kind of, again, similar to the Duke-Illinois game. Baylor's one of those teams that a lot of people were high on coming into the year. They got expectations to at least be in the mix, to be in the Big 12 Conference Championship. Struggled with the run game against Auburn last week. Their offense, to me, looked like it was great outside of, 2 fourth-down conversions that they didn't get. Kind of the difference maker, along with allowing a kick return for a touchdown. On the flip side of that, Kevin Jennings leads SMU, that coming off a great year last year. They didn't really play anybody week 1, but they took care of business. Both offenses are very high tempo. So I think it's going to be a shootout myself, but SMU -2.5 is the current spread, over under 64.5. Mike, who do you like?
SMU. I think you nailed it on the coffin, but Jennings has the better experience play. I think he's a better quarterback. I think SMU has the better line. I'm not sold on Baylor yet. I know Q was asking questions earlier in one of our episodes, like what's the hype around Baylor? I'm with you. I don't know what the hype is. They looked impressive against Auburn, but I think Auburn's a good team. I think SMU is multiple steps in front of Auburn. So, yeah, I think this spread, I would probably say 6.5 on SMU, and I would take it. So, I'll easily take SMU.
This is going to sound blasphemous. Okay, so bear with me. Robertson had 400 plus passing yards. He did not impress me all that much. Q, how can you say that? He had 400 plus passing yards. Well, because he barely completed 50% of his passes. I mean, yeah, he had 400 plus passing yards, but the passes he missed, and I watched this game, the passes he missed were bad, like overthrown touchdowns, underthrown touchdowns. Baylor could have at least tied it, if not won the game. He had at least 3 overthrown touchdowns. I mean, the bad passes were bad. And yeah, he had 400 plus passing yards, which is blasphemous to say that he didn't have a good game. He had a good game. He didn't have a great game, which is still crazy because yes, he had 400 plus passing yards, but the passes he missed were absolutely terrible. And on the flip side, SMU had 3 turnovers against a game against a game that the spread was 52 to start that game. SMU was favored to win by 52.5. They might have hit that if they didn't have 3 turnovers, but you can't have 3 turnovers against a team like that. The turnovers for SMU scared me a little bit, and the quarterback, the throwing game by Robertson scared me a little bit, even though, yes, he had 400 plus passing yards. And yes, the run game wasn't there. I do like SMU to cover this, but I don't know. It's kind of a tricky game because you have a team that won 42-13, whatever it was, and SMU played kind of sloppy, and then you have a team in Baylor that lost by 14 that had the chance to tie it, to if not win, if it was by better quarterback play. Baylor started 2-4 last year. They ended up finishing 9-4. So, Baylor starting slow isn't anything new. So I'm gonna have to lean SMU.
Clayton?
I'm gonna stay high on Baylor all year. I was high on them. I was high on Notre Dame all year, and think I'm just going to keep riding with the Bears. I know they could be the Illinois of the Big 12, but I'm not that high on SMU. I mean, it's too early to tell, but give me Baylor.
I think I'm with you, Clayton. I like Baylor in this one. I really like Sawyer Robertson. I know that stats were inflated a little bit for sure. I'd agree with that, but I like Baylor to rebound, get the upset. Moving on, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Big one this week.
Big one.
Little border war, if you
A
will.
little border war. Little old Big 8, old Big 12 matchup.
The
Bit of
Kansas
everything.
Jayhawks travel down to Missouri for the first time since 2011 to take on the Missouri Tigers. Kansas 2-0 so far. They've allowed 14 points and 359 yards through 2 games. Daniels, our beloved QB1, throwing for 456 yards and 7 touchdowns in 2 games. And that's actually the most by a Kansas QB through the first 2 games since 1996. Which is crazy to say because Kansas football is a tradition of excellence. So I was pretty shocked to see that. But yeah, Daniels is one of 3 Power 4 quarterbacks to have 50-plus passing touchdowns and 7,000 yards at one school in his career. So obviously the star player at Kansas is back. He's hungry. There's high expectations for the Kansas program. On the flip side, you got Missouri. Kind of the big story out of week 1 for Missouri would be Sam Horn, QB1, was injured. And in steps Bo Perbula, who, if you don't remember the name, transferred from Penn State last offseason. He came in, threw for 283 yards, 2 scores, 10 carries, 65 yards, 2 more touchdowns in the 61-6 win over Central Arkansas. I think when I look at Missouri, to me, Missouri's kind of like the Iowa of the SEC. Maybe a little bit better, but they've kind of past few years been like the model of consistency. They're always 9-3, 10-2. Not in the SEC championship, but they're always right there in the mix. So, Mike, I'll let you take it away. We have Missouri minus 6.5 is the current spread, over under 50.5. Talk us into Kansas.
I'll talk you out and then I'll talk you in. A big thing broke. I have a KU insider that I am subscribed to. They just dropped it actually about 10 minutes ago. Our star linebacker, freshman Kamara, who has been excellent the first 2 games, will be out for at least 3 weeks. So he will not be playing. That will be huge.
What happened?
Something with his knee. Something with he has a knee injury. Yep. So, not as bad as we thought. We thought originally it'd be a whole season. So, out 3 weeks, it's a loss. Here's where I'll tell you. Jalen Daniels looked peak since about two years ago before he had his injury. I mean, you described his stats. How he's been doing this year in the first 2 games. He's looked amazing. Couldn't ask for more out of a quarterback. He looks comfortable. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He's not making mistakes. Daniel Hallshy has looked great as a running back, replacing Neal. The dude can pick up blocks. He will flatten somebody like a pancake. He actually has a highlight reel that's going viral on YouTube right now of just him picking up blocks for the quarterback. He can also run the ball. The big factor in this one is going to be the transfer from Alabama, Emmanuel Henderson. He had a huge game last week. I think he had around 130 receiving yards. He's going to have to be huge for us in this game. It's going to be a quarterback shootout. What's the over?
50.5, I think.
50.5. Give me the over. It's easily hitting over. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. This is the test for Kansas. This is how good is Kansas, or not for me, but is the college football world underestimating Kansas? And we're going to find out against Missouri because, like you said, Missouri is a good SEC team. It's a big game for Missouri, too, with their schedule. They have an easy schedule ahead of them. I think they can win about every game they're in. There's not no big underdog story in any of their games. So if they can get past this game, and then go into SEC play and maybe lose 1 or 2 games there, you could see them in a talk for SEC championship. But yeah, I think we have a renewal of the old Big 8 and Big 12 here. Rivalry. I know Kansas has been going around campus and Xing out every M on street signs, any signs. They're just Xing the M out. So we're ready. We're ready to take on this matchup. Give me the Jayhawks to cover and to win on the road. I love our defense. I think our defense can get the stops, and I think we have the better quarterback.
Oh, gosh. I don't know about the whole better quarterback talk, but or the better defense talk. I mean, I don't know. There's just something about the name Bo in college football that it just kind of sparks. It just kind of sparks a team. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's just something about the name Bo.
Bo Lombardi.
Yeah. You don't know Bo, okay? Okay, you don't know Bo. You know, Bodacious. I got Missouri winning by 35 here. No, not really. I do have Missouri winning. I do have them covering the spread. It's a little rivalry game. Jalen Daniels has been around he's been around the block for sure.
He's never left Kansas.
He's that's not what I mean. Been around the block. I mean he's been around the block in college football, as in he's been there for a long time. Not really played that much. He's injury prone. Last year, I think he stubbed his toe. He was out like 12 games or something like that. I do think Bo is the. It's hard for me to call him the better quarterback. I think Jalen Daniels is the better quarterback. Yes, I think Bo surprised a lot of people last week. I mean, I know who they played. 4 total touchdowns in his first start. He saw the writing on the wall. He transferred out. Drew Allard came back. I don't see Kansas picking up a win at Missouri in a rivalry game. I do think it'll be a shootout. I will hammer that over. I think Missouri, we've seen this hype around Kansas before. Last year they had this hype. They ended up being atrocious. I think Missouri is a well-rounded team. I think Kansas is a well-rounded team. I think Missouri picks up the win simply because of home field advantage. I think they are both very good teams. I just think I think Missouri wins this.
I don't think the home field advantage is going to be as big as you think.
No,
this border rivalry is massive. Kansas will show out with the crowd.
I'll answer this one question. Give me one reason, just one. That's why if any bettors out there wanting to bet Kansas, they should. Just one.
I think we have the better all-around team. I think our defense is better. I think our running back is by far better statistically. Our quarterback statistically is better. He has more experience. This guy was a quarterback 2, and he's got to step in and be a quarterback 1 now. And I think we have the better wide receiver duo and a strong offensive line that had pretty much returned everybody from last year.
I'm still on the fence. That might be convincing me.
You take Missouri, you're taking a quarterback 2.
No, he's a quarterback 1. You can't say he's a quarterback 1 now.
I'll take Kansas because I don't have a reason necessarily to bet against them. And I mean, there's a lot of hype going on around them, and Missouri kind of shot the bed last year.
There's a reason to bet against them. I mean, Jalen Daniels is a 6th-year senior, and he's played 12 games. I mean, that's the reason right there.
He's trying so hard.
He does bring a lot of experience.
I'm not trying hard. Mike, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's a 6-year senior. He's played 2 full seasons.
Yeah, but I mean, worst comes to worst, we get down like 14 or something. We can just start running like the mesh play over and over and over, and we'll get back in the game and win it for sure.
Yeah,
been proven.
You're not gonna get me right up. You're not gonna get me right up.
That being said, I'm going to close with this. I like Missouri minus 6.5. I do think I think Ahmad Hardy, Missouri's running back, is going to be the difference maker. I think at this moment in time, he's one of the most underrated running backs in college football. Everybody's going to know that name by the end of the year. And the only other thing I'm going to add is that I don't think Quentin knows what been around the block means. But that being said, we're going to move on to Michigan at Oklahoma. The 1-0 Michigan Wolverines travel to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the revamped Oklahoma Sooners offense. For those of you that don't know, Oklahoma got John Mateer in the transfer portal, along with hired Washington State's offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle. So the combo went down to Oklahoma together. Oklahoma's a team that, they're struggled year one in the SEC, looking for this signature win early. They looked good against Illinois State. Again, it's not necessarily the greatest opponent you can play week one, but took care of business, did what they had to do. Their defense under Venables, I think, is the one thing that we can always count on being good. They allowed 151 total yards and held Illinois State to a 1 of 11 on third down. On the flip side, Mike, you kind of touched on it, but the big story on Michigan's side is Bryce Underwood. Who is he? What's he going to do this year? Is he the step up that they needed that they didn't have last year at the quarterback position? 251 yards and a touchdown in his debut last week against New Mexico. I think the bigger story is probably Justice Haynes. He had 159 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. And then, as always, it's the Michigan Wolverines. The defense came up with 3 interceptions. Right now, Oklahoma minus 4.5 is the spread. The over-under 44.5. Personally, I think that's a good over-under. I think it's going to be a defensive showcase. Mike, who do you like?
Personally, I wouldn't touch this game. I'd watch it just to find out if I had to pick one. I'm going to lead. I'm leaning Michigan. We know what their defense is going to be. We know it's going to be top-tier talent. They're going to get the stops. I love the under in this game. I'd rather take that. But spread-wise, I would take Michigan. I think their quarterback question has been answered like I picked up on earlier. And for me, like Bryce Underwood, this is his game. He had this scheduled. He didn't have last week's games scheduled where he needs to perform and show out. This is his game. Go out there as a true freshman. You're supposed to be the guy. You're going up against a top talented Oklahoma team that has John Mateer, who is supposed to be the guy. Duke it out. Sue's the better quarterback. Sue has a better team. And whoever comes out on top. I mean, you have to perform if you're Bryce Underwood in this game. There's no mistakes for a freshman learning how to play in the big moments or anything like that. This is your team. You got all the NIL money that you wanted. You decommitted from LSU to go to Michigan. This is your team. This is your moment. Show how good you are.
Jake, you kind of touched on this last episode. This isn't verbatim, but this is kind of my own words. When I see two teams that are kind of similar, I lean towards the more experienced quarterback. And that's kind of what you touched on last episode or 2 episodes ago. I can't really remember, but John Mateer is that experienced quarterback that I will lean on. Yes, Bryce Underwood performed very well last week, but make no mistake, this New Mexico versus Michigan, this was a 10-point game entering the 4th quarter. That does not impress me one bit. Yes, you have a true freshman starting quarterback who's kind of still getting the realm of the offense. He's kind of still, working out the kinks. That game, the Michigan team as a whole did not impress me. Bryce Underwood did. So I think Oklahoma has I think they have the star-studded defense to have the best defense in the SEC. You can kind of make the case for Michigan on the Big Ten aspect part of it, but I got to lean Oklahoma very heavily in this game. I think Oklahoma's defense is going to give Bryce Underwood a lot of fits, and I think John Mateer is a very, very, very well-rounded quarterback in the passing game and the ground game. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Bryce Underwood is a stud. I think he will perform very well, but that New Mexico game did not impress me one bit last week. And if one of the two teams did, it would be Oklahoma. So I got Oklahoma by a decent margin in this game, and I think John Mateer is going to make a case for Heisman in this game.
Clayton?
I think Michigan's going to struggle offensively. Oklahoma has a lot more to gain from a win than Michigan would. A lot more motive, especially the fact that it's going to be in Norman is huge. Yeah, give me Oklahoma until Michigan can prove me something on offense. But OU, baby.
I'm right there with you. This game for me is probably stick with wherever the home game's at. In this case, it's in Norman, so I like Oklahoma. Finally, gentlemen, game of the week, Fox, big noon kickoff. Some people are saying it's bigger than the game. Some people are saying it's bigger than the Iron Bowl. Some people refer to this as the Cy-Hawk game. The Iowa Hawkeyes travel to Ames to take on the Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa State coming into the game 2-0, obviously the big Week 0 win over K-State in Ireland. Then took care of business against South Dakota this past week. To me, you got both sides of the balls have been clicking on all cylinders. I think the bigger story coming into it would be all the hype, myself, Iowa fans, everybody, of Mark Gronowski transferring from South Dakota State to Iowa did not look great in the Week 1 opener against Albany. Threw for 44 yards, was 8 of 15. It almost looked like the second you put on that Hawkeye uniform, you just forget how to play quarterback. That sounds like a joke, but truthfully, you almost forget about all the goodwill he built up and everything he's done at South Dakota State when you actually watched him play the other day. With that, important to note, Iowa State's won 2 of the last 3, but has not beaten Iowa in Ames since 2011. Seems like the last few years, it's really just been the road team gets this win. So, fellas, Q, take us away. Who do you like and why? ISU -3, over under 41.5.
I had originally said earlier today that, I can't really see it being a blowout, but the more I think about it, the more different this Iowa State team is in years past. And I think with Iowa's Gronowski's outing last week against Albany, I think that definitely changes things. I know a lot of people online argue the case like, oh, well, it's his first FBS start. It's his first start for Iowa. He's got to work out the kinks. Albany's defense that's the defenses that he is used to playing against. He's used to playing against FCS defenses. That's that in Albany. He's used to playing against teams like Albany, and he was terrible. He had a wide open touchdown 15 yards away. He threw it 10 yards short. I've never seen passes like that before in my life. I know he's probably got nerves. I know, yes, he probably has to work out kinks, but that's the defenses that he's used to playing. Coming from FCS, that's that team in Albany he's used to playing. I said it in our first episode ever this year. If any team can be responsible for completely dismantling how a quarterback plays, it's going to be Iowa. And we saw that evident in last week, and I just don't think he's going to go into Ames and even remotely keep this thing close. That was a pitiful performance against Albany as an Iowa team as a whole. Iowa State is reeling. I don't know the last time they put up 50 points in a regular season game. Completely blowing out teams they're supposed to, which is a good sign. Rocco Becht is almost perfect on the year in passing. A couple more games like that, you could sneak him into the Heisman race. which is kind of blasphemous to say, but I mean he's balling. Iowa State's offense, while losing his top 2 receivers, is completely reeling. I mean, they are looking unstoppable in the Big 12. I can't see Iowa keeping this close after last week's performance against Albany. I know I had mentioned earlier today that I can't see Iowa State blowing them out, but the more I think about it, the more I think this is going to be, I'm going to say a 17-point victory for Iowa State. So I'm going to go Iowa State.
Mike?
Everything you just said is why I am going Iowa.
Yeah, go for it. Please go for it, bud. Go
Iowa
for it.
State is playing great. And like you said, the last time they put up 50. Seems like a trap game. This game is going to come down to special teams. I think Iowa has a better special team. I think the quarterback play is a perfect opportunity. Everyone's doubting you. You came in, you're supposed to be this top guy. You played bad against Albany. What better game to show that you are the guy than Iowa State? And I think, get some running in there. And then for Iowa State, like, your receivers haven't been there. You haven't had that receiver that has showed up. It's been a lot relying on your run game. You have the two-headed horse, and I think Iowa has a defense to stop that. And I feel like this is a trap game. I would not bet the spread. I will take Iowa in the plus money. I think Iowa wins by a point. I don't know. I just feel like everything you said is when Iowa State just lets you down. They're playing on all cylinders, and then it just comes to a halt quick. Happens every year. And
but you can't lie that this Iowa State team is like, you can, like, even Iowa fans know that this is just a different Iowa State team. Like, they are not the typical start 2-0, lose to Iowa, finish the season 1-5. Like, this is an out for blood Iowa State team.
Let me ask you this. Iowa stops the run Saturday. What do you think the score is?
Then they have arguably the best dual threat quarterback in the Big 12. What are you
This
talking about?
This game's gonna come down to kicking, and right now
Exactly,
the advantage that is Iowa State.
Iowa State has a sophomore kicker out of Dubuque that just kicked a 63-yarder.
Dude,
yeah, I'm
under
56-yarder last
this
year.
game's gonna be 17-12 or something stupid like that. No one has any idea who's winning.
Mike, let me ask you, what's a longer field goal, 63 or 56?
It's not by much, dude. I'm just saying, Iowa doesn't have no slouch of a kicker. You're acting like Iowa does not have a kicker. They have a kicker.
I'm not saying that. I think you're underestimating Iowa State's kicker. Because if I'm not mistaken, that same kicker was the kicker that beat Iowa in Kinnick last year off of a walk-off.
Correct.
So I'm still
have
taking
a kicker.
Iowa
I'm not saying
special
Iowa
teams.
State's bad either. I just think this is like a letdown game for you. Like, these big moments where Iowa State is just, I mean, they look unbeatable and then they just come to a screeching halt. Happened last year. I feel like this is a game where it's going to happen. I mean, you had the Ireland game, the long road trip. Yeah, you put up 55 points, and now you got to play Iowa at home, where you're 0-6 and haven't won since 2011 at home against them.
As the resident Iowa State fan of this podcast, here's what I'm going to say. Mike, you're onto something. This is absolutely that type of game where in the past Iowa State chokes. I get it. This is not that year. Q to me touched on it. Like, I've been going, I don't even want to say I've been going back and forth. In previous years, I for sure would. I tell myself Iowa State is for sure the better team, and somehow they would manage to lose the game. I do not see a world where Iowa State loses this game. Matt Campbell finally gets over the hump of, beating Iowa at home. We break the streak of not winning in Ames since 2011, and I think this is. I mean, I think Q's right. Like, I really do think this is a 3-score game. I don't see a world where Iowa can keep up with Iowa State in any facet of the game, offense, defense, or special teams.
Yeah, but you could say that about every single rivalry game, though. I mean, we say this about every team.
Nah, but
No, we say this
But
about
this
one
is
side
different
every
because-
single year, though, and then it ends up being a 3-score game. Not 3-score, 3-point game.
But like we've never had such a heated rivalry this early into the year, and we've never like really had a one-sided rivalry this
Dude,
early into
the
the
last
year.
time,
Yeah,
the last
if
time Iowa State was ranked and Iowa was not ranked, 1978, and you know what happened? That was Hayden Fry's first year. Iowa beat the crap out of Iowa State. So like, that doesn't matter. Like, you want to go back to that? Like, this is how every Michigan, Ohio State game, Auburn, Alabama, Iowa State game, throw everything out of the. Does not matter. There's so much emotion and so much riding on this one game that you cannot judge rivalry games like that.
I just think it's a perfect opportunity for like this quarterback that had all this hype coming into this year and had a letdown game against Albany. Like, dude, this is his moment to show like, hey, Iowa fans, I am the guy that you thought you were getting, and I think you might get it. I agree with Q. Like, it's either going to be a 3-score game, Iowa State wins, or it's going to be a close game and Iowa wins. It's going to be one or the other.
Yeah, one team will win or the other team will win.
No, I'm just saying, like, if it's a close game, Iowa's winning.
Yeah, Clayton, also to your point, I get what you're saying about rivalry games, but for every example that you give for, hey, there's a close game in a rivalry game, I can give you an example of a blowout in a rivalry game.
I mean, Clayton, to your point, this is literally what I said last or yesterday. I said the Cy-Hawk rivalry is like turning on even teams on college football. Like it's always close, and you can never really determine a real winner. But I mean, Jake, you know what I'm trying to say. Like, this year is just different for Iowa State.
It is. To me, the point you just made, Quinn, is the exact same as like, hey, this coach can't get over the hump until he does. Like, Iowa State can't beat Iowa in Ames until he can. Matt Campbell can't beat Iowa until he can. Like, I understand it's a rivalry game. I get it. But to me, there's no world where Iowa State loses this game. They're better all 3 phases of the game.
Yeah.
With that being said, other notable games around the country this weekend, we got Louisville and James Madison Friday night. My darling Oklahoma State Cowboys travel to Oregon to take on the Ducks. In-state rivalry, we have Florida and South Florida. Arizona State travels to Mississippi State. Virginia Tech and Vanderbilt square off. Boston College, Michigan State. UCLA, UNLV, and Stanford, BYU.
I'm excited to watch the UCLA UNLV game. I know you talked about it earlier, like they played Utah. Utah is a phenomenal team. Like, we can actually see, how good or how bad this UCLA team is with Nico.
I think it's a big game for UNLV too. I mean, obviously, they're one of those group of 5 teams that people are throwing in the mix to maybe grab that group of 5 spot in the playoff. UCLA maybe not the best opponent, but if you expect to be in the playoff at the end of the year representing the group of 5, it's a must-win game for UNLV for sure.
Mm-hmm. South Florida game will be good too. I mean, South Florida beat Boise State. They have a lot they're playing for right now, and that would be a massive win for them.
Right. Moving on, fellas, it's time. Week 2 cards. I'll jump in. I'll start us off. Here's my card, gentlemen. As I mentioned last week, early on in the year, I do not fear large spreads in the non-conference. We're sticking with that MO this week. I have Texas minus 36.5 to start out. I think it's a perfect bounce back game for them. I think we all know how Arch Manning looked last week. This is time to pad the stats and get them feeling good before conference play hits. Exact same story. I have Alabama minus 36.5. Again, I think it's pad the stats, get the offense clicking, make sure things are good before you hit conference play. Once again, I have that exact same story with Clemson minus 33.5. I think all 3 of those teams are in the exact same boat of offense did not look great week 1. We got to figure things out, and we got to figure them out fast. And then finally, I have Ole Miss -10. Kind of a tricky one. This is on the road at Kentucky. It's a conference game, week 2. I think Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss are going to remember last year when they lost at home to Kentucky. So I love Ole Miss to not only win the game, but you can always count on Lane Kiffin to just run up the score over an inferior opponent. But I think Ole Miss wins this by 20 plus.
Yeah, my card. I'll start with I have Ole Miss at Kentucky. Ole Miss -10.5, and I'll be honest with you. When I looked at that spread, I put it in my notes and had to go back and look because that spread did not look right to me. That is a -16.5, 20.5 game. I have no clue, but Ole Miss should win easily by more than 10.5, especially with the question mark under Kentucky's quarterback. This, like you said, it's a vengeance game for Ole Miss. They would have made the playoffs last year if they didn't lose to Kentucky. So this is kind of their get back. I said last week the Florida State vengeance game against Alabama. So yeah, I think they're in the same situation here. So Ole Miss -10.5. Tulane at South Alabama. I'll take Tulane -10.5 as well. Tulane is running like they're in mid-season form. Their defense looks incredible. And yeah, this team is everything I expected them to be. So Tulane -10.5. Next game, Georgia Southern at USC. USC -28.5. Yeah, I think USC is going to run the score up. They run the score up on everybody, and they don't let off the brakes. So give me USC -28.5. And then my last game would be Memphis at Georgia State. Memphis -13.5. Georgia State got blown out last week by a nobody team. Memphis is supposed to be good. They're supposed to have a chance to make that spot over there for the playoffs. So obviously I think this is a big must-win game for Memphis at 13.5.
My first game, I got Iowa State -3. Just touched on this. The only words I'm going to say, Jake quoted it. I'm going to quote the same thing. I don't see a world where Iowa State loses this game. Game number 2, I have Duke +3. I really like Duke in this game. Most of the games that I picked for my card are kind of quarterback favorite. I like Rocco better than I like Gronkowski. I like Darian Mensah better than I like Altmaier. So I like Duke to cover in this game, +3. Number 3, I have Oregon -28.5. Oklahoma State, their starting quarterback broke his hand. So they will be entering their backup quarterback at Oregon. They're out their best defensive player at Oregon. So, Clayton, you mentioned, will Dan Lanning run up the score just because of Mike Gundy's comments? Well, I hope so, because I got Oregon -28.5. Oh boy. I got gosh, I'm still going between two games. I'm going to take Oklahoma -4.5. Just dip to 4.5. So I'm going to take Oklahoma -4.5. Another quarterback favorite play by me. I like John Mateer way better than I like Underwood. Impressed by Underwood, not impressed by Michigan last week. Very impressed by Mateer, very impressed by Oklahoma. So I'm going to take Oklahoma -4.5. I was deciding between them and Florida -17. USF looked good. I still think Florida wins by, 28, but I will take the lower spread in Oklahoma-Michigan game. So Oklahoma -4.5 is my last game.
Getting the lock of the week's parlay, boys. Jake and I currently sit with a 1-0 record at the top of the standings. Q and Clayton with an 0-1 record. I'll start. I got Arizona State -6.5 against Mississippi State. This Mississippi State team is not supposed to be anything good. They gave up 17 points against Southern Mississippi. Yeah. And Arizona State, I think, has a team up there with Utah. Yeah, give me Arizona State -6.5. I love that it's under a touchdown field goal.
I like that, Mike. I just want to add about Arizona State. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know ball that say Arizona State's not going to be good without Cam Scattaboo. And to those people, I would say you clearly have never watched Sam Levitt or Jordan Tyson.
Yeah.
So, my lock of the
Levitt
week.
I was going to say Sam Levitt was running all over them last week. So
he was. My lock of the week is the Southern California Trojans minus 28.5 over Georgia Southern. USC just won by 60. I don't see them slowing down, at least not in the non-conference. Georgia Southern just lost to Fresno State by 28 this past week. So if Fresno State can do it, USC can do it.
Relating to my spoiler alert from earlier, I got SMU minus 2.5 as my lock against Baylor. Already spoiled that. I'm not really sold on Sawyer Robertson, even though yes, once again, I'm going to say it, threw for 400 plus passing yards. Didn't look that sharp. Not really impressed with SMU's ball control, but still looks sharp. Still got the more experienced quarterback in Kevin Jennings. I've been rocking with more experienced quarterbacks in my card, so I'm going to rock with them in my lock at SMU. So I got SMU minus 2.5 as my.
Anything else, boys?
Nah.
Nada.
Should be a good week of college football. Hopefully I'm on the other side next week. Rock chalk.
Let's go, dogs!